And we're live, 7:08, right on the dot-ish. I was actually almost done. I was just finishing up the editing on the 2.2 liter Dodge, not so much turbo, more as the NA version of the turbo thing. So the first episode will be up either later tonight or first thing you'll be seeing it tomorrow morning. It should be ready to post. Sometimes I like doing it in the morning. But that video is all done. All I have to do is add the very short intro with the fancy dance music. Get everybody pumped. But the question for today is, the thumbnail that I put up is a front shot of that, looking at the cam and the cam gear and the timing setup. And it's interesting, on the 2.2, they show you a diagram on how to line everything up. It's actually not hard. There are two arrows on the cam gear, and you line those up. You level those out with a line on it's on the cylinder head. And then, I naturally put the short block at TDC, number one pistons at TDC. And then there'll be a mark on the crank sprocket, and that crank sprocket you then line up with a corresponding mark on the gear that drives the oil pump and the distributor. And then they tell you where the slot needs to go for the distributor. You line all that up, put the belt on, tighten the belt down, put the tensioner, and you're on your way. And I was talking to Ben from the car farm about this. I'm like, I use a straight edge because the interesting part of it, like the cam gear, that's easy to line both of those up. You have points on both sides, and you have a fine delineation in the head, so it's easy to spot. That goes right there. Same thing with getting TDC. That that aims right. So the weird one is the oil pump drive and the distributor drive. So what they want is from the center line of the crank to the dot on the crank sprocket to the mark on the oil pump drive. You want those three points all to be a straight line. Okay, when you do that, I did that several times. And what I always came across is when I went to put the belt on, the tooth on the belt wanted to be on the tooth on one or more of the sprockets. It basically was half a tooth off, no matter what. It always wanted to be half a tooth off. So you either have to move it one way or the other. So then the question becomes, which way should it actually go? If I did it 4 times and it comes out exactly the same every time, which it does, I mess everything up and then redo it, and it seems to be a half a tooth off. That's probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 degrees or something. I didn't count the number of teeth, and if it's looking at it, it's got to be around there. So half of that would be 4 or something, 3 or 4, or 4 or 5. But the question is, which way does it need to go? And what I wanted to find out, what I was hoping to find out when I did the testing, when I put the motor up on the dyno, is I was hoping to go, okay, we went this way with it this time, and now we'll loosen the tensioner and go this way with it this time, and see if there's a change, and possibly see which way it liked it more. I kind of wanted to know that personally, just to see what was going on. Pretty easy to get the distributor lined up. I mean, we have the way that we did the distributor, and you'll see in the video, I have some pretty detailed photos of what we did for the mounting bracket and the using the 24X crank sensor from the LS, and then the position with the wheel. We have a view from inside and stuff, so you guys will be able to see all that. So it's pretty, because of what we did, we can rotate the distributor, I don't know, 200 degrees or something. So we put the distributor wherever we want. That's not a problem. But I just am curious as to what happens with the half a degree, or if I just keep missing it by a half or half a tooth. If I just keep missing it by half a tooth. But the question for tonight is, and showing that sprocket, do we think that adjustable cam sprockets add power? Right off the bat, we would say, in fact, that'll be our poll for tonight. Do adjustable cam sprockets add power? Should I throw the word always in there? Mix it up a little bit. Do adjustable cam sprockets add power? And we only have a yes or no up there. And the answer, as always, is sometimes. it depends. I can tell you that I did when I was testing particularly with the B Series Honda, because there's two cams and then you got to adjust both of them. So you got to adjust, you got to leave the exhaust. What we did was we leave the exhaust cam and then go through the whole sweep of the intake cam. And then you move the exhaust cam and go through the whole sweep of the intake cam, and then move the exhaust cam and go through the whole sweep of the intake cam. You can do it vice versa too. It's not, you're going to end up doing the same thing. You just need all the different permutations of it, because it might be that you adjust the intake cam, you advance it, for instance, and it likes it. And then when you adjust the cam, it stops liking it. So you got to test all of the different possibilities. And what I found with a stock B16 is that it did respond to adjustable cam timing, but in more of the positions than not, what you would end up doing is losing power. So guys I met guys like this, and I still do, that they think that there's a universal thing. Oh, all those motors want to be advanced. No, what they want is for you to test and see what they want, and they will tell you what they want. Every camshaft may or may, or every set of camshafts may or may not respond the same way. You don't know what they ground into that camshaft. You don't know what the change in duration and lift and lobe separation angle when we're adjusting the cams. You don't know what those are. And so therefore you don't know how they'll respond. And then how will they respond with your intake manifold, with your runner leg? How will they respond with that particular cylinder head and that compression and that displacement and the header design and all of those things? A lot of times it's something that you have to test. And so that's what I want to do with the Dodge. I want to put an adjustable cam sprocket on it, and I want to see if there's something to be had from the stock cams, which I think that there is, because I think that that's one of the Dodge guys let me know. I think that the Shelby versions, I think that they retard the cam on those 1.2 or something. Because I know that they milled the head on the NA version to bring the compression up, but I thought that they changed the cam timing too. So somebody let me know, one of the Chris or one of the guys, let me know that what happened there. Traditionally, what people think, and this is usually what happens, it has when I've done the testing, is that if you advance the cam, it tends to improve low speed power. If you retard the cam, it tends to improve top end power or power at higher engine speeds. But again, that depends. Like, what is the cam now? Maybe it already has way too much advance in it, and it only responds to retarding the camshaft. A good example of that would be a lot of the factory VVT stuff. They set the cam up so that it will respond the way that they want it to respond when they put the programming in. So the cam is ground and installed so that it's most effective, so that they can get the combination. And in their case, it's not just about power. It's not just about mileage. It's not just about emissions. It's not just about drivability. It's about all those things. So there's some permutation where all of those things are happening the best that they can be while allowing the other things to happen. And the thing is that if you take a factory VVT cam out of a Gen 3 or Gen 4 LS, for instance, or Hemi, or a Gen 5, it may or may not, and you replace it with an aftermarket cam that you would continue to use VVT with. Hopefully there are two problems with that. One, that cam profile might not respond to it. It may already be good. It may be bad. It may be just not receptive to swings in cam timing. The other thing that happens an awful lot with these VVT deals, when you put a bigger camshaft in, especially something that's more duration, is that you have to limit the amount of variable cam that you can use, because you're essentially just hanging the valve open longer. And if you do that, you run into piston to valve clearance, because from the factory, they have designed the requisite amount of piston to valve clearance so that they can swing these things in the range that they want to swing them. And normally what they would do is they would swing these things a lot at lower engine speeds and under cruise and conditions where they're wanting to idealize what's happening there. At wide open throttle, the VVT movement is very, very little. It may be 8 or 10 degrees or something, but it could be. I know some of these VVT systems have the ability to move these cams 50 degrees, which is a lot, as you might imagine. That has a big effect on available piston to valve clearance. So when you go from a 190 cam to a 220 or 230 cam, all of a sudden your window becomes a lot narrower, and which is why we put on, or the cam manufacturers will sell you phaser limiters, so that now you can no longer sweep at 50 degrees. So not only do you, which doesn't really hurt wide open throttle power that much. Let's say that you could swing it from 9 degrees, now it's down to 3 or 4 degrees. Okay. What they're really doing is at wide open throttle, they're not limiting it that much. But where they're limiting a lot is going from, let's say that the OEMs were moving it by 25 degrees, and now it only can move 4. So it's going to have a big effect on other things that happened that were previously relying on all of that to do the things that they wanted to do. So it will no longer do some of the things. And the things that can affect are the things I mentioned: drivability and fuel mileage. And so those are some things to think about when doing, electronically adjustable cam sprockets. But for us, like on the 2.2, that's going to be a manual deal, like it was with the Hondas. The K series stuff now is all computer controlled. But again, if you put cams in those, just like with most things. And then the other thing to think about is on some of these double overhead cam motors, you can adjust the intake and exhaust independently. On some cams, like a single cam Honda, for instance, or one of these LS motors, when you're adjusting it, you're adjusting both the intake and the exhaust. So maybe that has less of a beneficial effect, because maybe if you advance it and you're advancing the intake, which it might like, you're also advancing the exhaust, which it might not like. So you're limiting the number of combinations that you have to try, which is nice, but you're also limiting the number of possibilities that could be eventually beneficial. You're also limiting most of them that are not going to be beneficial, because we saw a lot of that as well. So I'm curious to see what people think about the adjustable cam sprockets. I'm excited about trying it. I'm most excited about trying it on the stock stuff, but some of the aftermarket cams, the guys from the Car Farm sent out a Mopar Performance cam. It's a purple cam. So I don't know if that has any relation to the purple V8 cams that they sold, but it has the purple on it. So, it's Mopar, and it's got to be great, right? Because those are all the hottest cams available for the Mopar, the purple sticks. So we'll try that one, and then we've got some of the other factory ones, and hopefully some aftermarket ones. And another big shout out to James Reeves for the loan on the adapter to mount the 2.2 to the Dodge bell housing, and it worked fantastic. When you have the right tool for the right job, rather than trying to finagle it, it's just it was so simple. All of that worked out a lot, and it worked out very well. So one thing I want to show you is, it's hard for you guys to see, but so this thing's heavy. So that is the trophy for the MPMC. That's the Media Person of the Year award. So I'm going to do a post on that, but it actually is really cool. I mean, this is glass, so it would certainly break if you dropped it. It's really, really heavy. And what I told Chad, because he has won this previously, and his was not like this, I said, yeah, that's because that's when they were giving away to anybody. Those were essentially back then. I told Chad, because I was giving him a hard time because he's my boy. Those are essentially participation trophies back then. They just gave them away to everybody. I told him that mine was made of diamond, and it's extra special. Oh, Chad. So let's see what you guys got going on. You got some questions for me? Yo, hit me up. Let's see. Let's see. I'm scrolling. Good evening, everybody. Good to see everybody. What's up? Milo's sick of the puppies yet? No, he loves them. They're just starting where they're doing a little bit of wrestling. He just kind of pokes them with his nose and stuff. So but I can already see that they're going to be buddies. Plant City, Florida is in the house. Richard, would you rather have a cam phaser that advances or retards the cam? What I would like ideally is I would like a phaser that would, like for a Coyote or one of those things, or I would want one that starts in the middle and has the ability to go either direction, because I'd want to see what's what. Like I said, the way that they set them up oftentimes so that it only goes one direction, but they set it up, grind the cam, and set the phasing up so that it's most effective. There's a lot of research that goes into what they're doing there. But for me, what would be nice for dyno testing is, can I advance it 4 or 6 degrees? Can I retard it 4 or 6 degrees and find out what's going on? It'd be really easy on an LS. I hate polls like this because the answer is always it depends. Same thing happened to me with timing. The 2.2, you had to crank the distributor to get the bottom dead center. Well, it makes more efficient in one RPM range or another, and if more efficient in one RPM range, it's a higher range. It's like it can make more peak power. Let's see. Yeah, you don't want valves to hit pistons. That's not good. The fact that the sprocket is adjustable doesn't add power, but the ability to degree the cam exactly where you want it might. They don't make power. They just allow you to adjust what power is there in a certain RPM range. Sometimes when you advance or retard the cam, it adds power everywhere. We've seen that happen. Should I get any adjustable cam timing for my 4.6.2 valve with comp cam stage 2? I don't know. What I can tell you is the times that we have adjusted cams on the 2 valves, it has added power. The first thing that we did was make sure that both sides of the engine had the same timing, which they didn't from the factory. And so the ability to do that, but otherwise they did not have adjustable cam sprockets back when I was doing that 4.6.2 valve test, because that was really early on when I was doing the testing for those. Is a Gen 2 LT1 guy here today? I haven't looked to see. I haven't seen his name yet. Does anybody know off the top of their head what's a torque spec for an ARP rod bolt on an LS? I can honestly say that I have never put one of those in. So I saw that I put on comp cams 2 102 200s on the 2001 Windsor 4.6, and those cams are supposed to be for non-PI heads. Are those compatible with each other? Yeah, the PI and the non-PI heads work interchangeably. You can put the non-PI stuff on the PI stuff, because as long as you have enough spring for it, because one of them is a 500 lift and one of them is a 550 lift. Cords. Rex, you don't get to stay here all the time. I know, and as soon as you leave, we talk about you. That's how we roll. I use adjustable cam sprockets to help make sure I don't smack my exhaust valves. On double overhead cams, adjustable cam sprockets will allow you to change a lobe separation angle. Yes, they will, because you get to adjust them individually. It's a lot of testing. Cords, do you remember how many teeth are on our cam gears? It's 40. Is it 40? You have the purple cam in your Lancer? Cords, do you know the specs on it? Can you send me the specs on it if you know? Because the guys at the car farm didn't know what the specs were. One of the greatest things about this show is if you miss something, it's all recorded to get the... Yeah, that's right, YouTube. Let's see. When is a test video dropping of all the cams? That's the next one that I'm working on after this 2.2. It is the little things, like spending the night on the floor of the... Yeah.
You have visitors.
I do?
The puppies.
Oh, okay. You guys want to see the puppies? Of course, everybody wants to see the puppies, huh? Okay, come here. Let's say hello to everyone. Come here. Okay, here's one. Okay, come here. Let's say hi. Did you guys just wake up? Huh?
You've been up for a bit.
Okay, stay there. No, I'll have you take them. Here they are. They just woke up. They were sleeping, huh? You already have grease on you, huh? I do, huh? You have grease on you already, huh? You want to say hello? I'm kind of sleepy. Guess want to just lay here? Hmm? Do you want to go see Noah? Huh? Okay, let's go see. Say hi. Hello. There you go.
All right. Come on.
Oh, there you go. Here. I know. There you go. Thank you. Oh, puppies are awesome. Puppies. Two English Mastiffs. Yeah, those are a lot bigger. Those are cool, though. The ones I have for the double over cam go up to 10 degrees, both directions. Nice. Looking for a 0.48 AR T3 turbine housing for cheap, minus crack like a road map. I think that the old T3s that we used to get from the Mustangs, some of those had those. Are there any plans to compare the CFM of equal horsepower small blocks and big blocks? I forgot about that, Andy. I do want to do that. Who makes a good Hemi piston? All of the normal people. JE, Wiseco, CP. Who makes a good Hemi piston? You're right. Number 8 piston is 8 up with the valve seat. It's gone. Yeah, that's pretty normal. And what did get dusted got embedded in the chamber. Any chance it been a rod or no? I would definitely look at that and see. Have you ever had the opportunity to push a 2UZ? No, I haven't. I've never even run one. I don't think I've never even run one of those on the chassis dyno. On 6-liter with heads and cam, adding turbo, should I add ring gap? Yes, and it should be 28 to 28 thousandths or so on both the top and the bottom. If I add the 24.2 sprocket on my Gen 2 LT1, can I run coil on plug with an 0411 PCM swap? Does anybody know? I've never done that conversion on the Gen 2 LT1. They might think it might make it a little more power if you retard it, so it makes power high in the RPM range. So again, it depends. That's not a universal thing. Retarding the cam doesn't always add power at the top. I've retarded cams before and had it not do anything except lose power down low. Can any of these engines be installed in a Super Duty? All the LSs can. They swap into everything, right? John saying ARP-LS rod bolts are 40 foot-pounds. Hiram, thanks. Did you have a question? Please ask away. See if I can dig them up in the book. Okay. Somebody is sending me. Who was it? I need to get with them, as a matter of fact. They sent me an email when I was at MPMC. Somebody is sending me a set of drop-in pistons for an LS that don't require rebalancing. So it's just a forged piston upgrade for a stock rod. So that'll be cool. Yeah, Marty, they are. They really are. It's hard to get anything done, not play with them all day. Yep, golden puppies. Although they sometimes think that they're reindeer and goats and all kinds of stuff. Used to have a giant Great Dane. He was fun to actually made a bigger breed of a Great Dane, and they call it a giant. Nice. I like Great Danes. An SVO Mustang Turbo. They made on that T3 for different applications. They made a 48, a 63, and an 82 hot side for all those. Because I ran a comparison for all three of them. Standard cam sprocket has 40 teeth. Okay, so you just divide 360 by 40. So that's 6. No, 9. Yeah, 9. Yeah, so 9 degrees. That's about right. I think that's what I think that's also what the 3-valve Ford motor was too. Can't find a deck plate for the 2225 block. Can I bolt down the head and take bore measurements from the bottom? Yeah, you could access that, right? Nothing else is in the way. Because then people will argue with you if you make your deck plate out of steel that's not the right material. If you make it out of aluminum, it's always something. Taylor and Al have been both working on 700 horsepower Sonics. What size motors are those? I wonder how much power stick draw it would take to run a mechanical fuel pump. I think that could be measured. Ever heard the comp cams grinds cams to be 6 degrees advanced? It seems like a lot. I think 4 is what they had ground way back. I think that cam grinders like comp on their hydraulic flat tapping cams for small block Chevys. I think they put about 4 degrees of advance into it to make up for chain stretch. Hot mess, 1.4 liters that are making 700 horsepower. Are you familiar with the Edelbrock Performer RPM 290cc big block Chevy heads? I'm guessing they will outperform the Gen 6 Vortec heads, but they're pretty close CFM wise. Well, they're going to be aluminum, so they're better, right? But a 290 big block Edelbrock head doesn't outflow a stock Vortec head? Some guy recommended attaching the transmission to the block to get the true bore measurement. I think that's too far. And then is the block being used as are there motor mounts attached or are there mounts attached to the block also when it's in the car? It's deflecting. It's everything. I'm going to put 1,000 horsepower shot of nitrous on my stock Civic. See if my pistons will hit a balloon. Yes, they add power by being able to set the cam timing correctly. These are land speed trophies right here. Those 3 are. The newer Honda 1.5 turbo motors are pushing 800. That's a lot. Blind guy looking at the turbo kit says it has a T4170. For what application is that? Belt tension, throwing the bores out too. And then the fasteners will throw it out. I mean, the head gasket that you're using, the temperature that you tested at. I had somebody ask me about that. Well, what if I check this? What temperature do I check this at? I said, well, here's the problem with that. The engine, that bore is probably not at a stabilized temperature. The top of it might be hotter than the bottom is. You may have a temperature gradient. I'd like to kind of see that. That would be interesting. I'm entertaining the idea of spraying nitrous on a Vortec supercharged 462 valve. Is that possible or a good combination? Please take a look at the video where I already did that. I didn't do it on a 2 valve. I did it on a 4 valve, but the result is the same thing. Is that an F-18? I think so. Yeah, it's an FA-18EF Super Hornet. That was when I was doing a test for the guys at Vortec at the Lemoore Naval Air Station, which is where we did the standing mile test. Francisco is from Mexico City's in the house. T4 170. I don't know what a T4 170 is. Boosted 4.8, 220 cam. A 220 cam is pretty big for a 4.8. Are you running a turbo on that? Is it going to be a daily driver? What are you going to do? Unless you're drag racing it, I wouldn't pick a 220 cam for a 4.8. The fact that it's a single pattern cam might help it a little bit on terms of low speed power, but it's not going to do what a torque cam does. It'll be at negative numbers this weekend. I'll stick my block outside measure. It'd be interesting to see what the growth is. It's a lot. Is extrude honing even a thing anymore? I don't know how popular they're doing it with as soon as they started introducing composite intake manifolds, it became less popular because when you're doing aluminum long run or intake manifolds that don't lend themselves to conventional porting, it works really well. CFM is close up to 400 lift on the Vortec and Edelbrock heads and about 25 CFM better after that. It'll have a 224 or 230 cam. Is it going to have that's going to be a 500 lift cam. It's got either one of those are going to be 500 lift. So my guess is that the Edelbrock heads will make more power and they'll be lighter because they'll be aluminum and they'll be less susceptible to detonation. And I don't know what the port volume is on the head. The other thing you have to think about though is the Edelbrock head, I don't think will have a 102 cc chamber. I think that they had some that were down near 110. Otherwise, they're going to be 118 to 120. Without your part number, looks like that seems really big. 240, 248, 110 center line, 24 degrees of overlap. Can't be 240 at 50 though, right? Is that 6,000ths measurement or something? Richard, did you see my last post about the 1.4? Where did you post it at? Not your comment, right? Are you talking about a post somewhere on social media? Daily driver, boosted 4.8. Let's see. If yours was the 4.8 question, yeah, you'll want a torque cam and not a 220 cam for that. At what power level do you think adjustable cam sprockets are a must? I don't think that they are a must at any power level. I don't think the power level determines that. I think that their effectiveness is going to be a function of the cam that you're using. Richard, is there really any gain to flipping pistons if valve clearance allows? No. Well, there wasn't. I can tell you I've only tested it one time, and in the one time that we tested it, there was 0 change in power. Are all the books behind you motor or engineering related? Do they have to be one of those two things? Most of them are car books. Some of them are shark books. Some of them are snake books. I have a wide variety of interests. I think all of those are car books. What kind of abrasive do they use in extrude hone? It is silicon carbide normally, but they can and have used industrial diamonds. It depends on exactly what they're trying to accomplish. So they can change the amount of abrasive. They can change the viscosity of it's basically an industrial grade of silly putty. They can change that, the thickness of that, the lubrication that they add to it. They can change the pressure. They can change the cycles. It's a lot. Return oil from the turbo would be good. A mechanical fuel pump position on the small block Chevy. I think that if I remember right, does the oil pump? I thought it only had one hole going from the going up to the push rod. Is there another drain hole at the bottom? If there's not another drain hole at the bottom, then it's not a good spot. It's been so long since I took one of those apart. Should build a 283-307 small block Chevy just to see what new technology would add. What new technology would there be for small block Chevys that haven't been around for a long time? I mean, there may be there's definitely going to be a better than stock cylinder head, although not for the 283. Edelbrock offers 100 cc and 110. Okay, that's good. Man, I wish I could sit down with you and pick your brain for a couple of hours. You just got to buy me a drink. My local tuner blames my sub 2000 RPM surge on my sheet metal intake on my mild cam 6-liter LS. Should I get a fast 102 or a new tuner? A surge is going to be the tune or the camshaft. I don't. And is it an automatic? And is it a weird thing happening because of the converter? I wouldn't think that would be the case, unless the intake manifold's leaking. There shouldn't be a surge. It could be responsible for a lack of low speed power, which it certainly would. And a fast 102 would definitely make more power through most of the RPM range, but the surge is not that. It was typo. It calls the turbo T4 170. I don't know what I'd have to look that up. I'm not familiar with that. I'm hoping it's not 170 millimeter, because that would be really big. Is it a T70 and not a 170? A T70 would make sense. That would be small, but I'm close to the Everglades. We see all the weird wildlife. I bet you have lots of cool stuff there, including invasive species, Burmese pythons and stuff, right? And iguanas, probably iguanas everywhere. I'm watching one of your snake videos. Yeah, the rattlesnakes, we have lots of them. And in fact, when I haven't been out, like last year, I caught very few snakes. I probably caught less than 10, which is a very weird thing for me. Normally it's over 100, and probably 70% of those are rattlesnakes that I see. Do you know of a company that currently is making custom stainless steel valves? Like, have you checked with SI or Faria? What is it what are you looking for valves for? What application? Yeah, Burmese pythons. I've never caught anything we don't have things anywhere near that big here, but it would be cool. Close to the Mopar 314, 460, 240, 240. The duration you mentioned is throwing me off. Nick's here. A ton of iguanas and pythons. Yeah, those are. I watched the iguana videos with the guys going around and trying to get rid of some of the iguanas with the they use the pellet guns and stuff. I'm not a huge fan. I've had pet iguanas before when I was little. I think that they're awesome, and I don't like going to pet shows. I've been to. We have a big one in Sacramento that they have, and I just don't like seeing all the snakes in little Tupperware. That's just not my deal. And I think initially I was a bit put off by guys killing all these animals, but I understand it, and now I'm kind of like, yeah, I understand. There's just way too many of them. You need to take care of it. And the python hunting, I think it's great. I think you need to get rid of that. I mean, they're killing all the wildlife. Richard, do you sell the venomous snakes to researchers? No, I just catch them and let them go. Sometimes I'll relocate them if they're rattlesnakes, if we get them away from pets and livestock and stuff like that. But normally I just catch them and let them go right where I got them. And do you think adjusting your cam time with adjustable sprocket would affect dynamic compression? Yes, it will. Coming late, but I'm guessing you all determined that moving cam timing will add 200 horsepower at the same boost level. That'd be a nice set of cam sprockets to be able to do that. How about some cannon valve LS head tests? I don't think I have a motor that would be able to take advantage of what a cannon valve would have to offer. Brian Tooley is going to have some heads coming out, I think, pretty soon. Yuri, I'm always up for that, man. So Jack, you think that there's let me Jack, he said that on dual cam engines more power can be had for sure on a boosted engine. And my question would be, do you think if we adjusted the cam sprockets and it didn't show any power NA, that there's if the motor was NA and then we tested it boosted, do you think that there would be power if you tested it boosted? There would be power to be had boosted but not naturally aspirated? Get down south and eat some fried gator and snake. I don't think I've ever tried. I don't think I've ever tried. I haven't tried either one of those. I haven't eaten snake or gator. I don't think. I think that we could have had some when I was in Florida one time, but I don't think we did. Last person to die from rattlesnake bites here in Canada. There's lots of rattlesnakes in Canada. There's lots of rattlesnakes everywhere. They found them as high as 10,000 feet. A lot of people think that they will stay away from the cold, and I think that, they don't want to live in the snow, but they have. Gator goes from chicken to fish. That's because they'll eat both of those. I have a 4.853 Chevy. What makes it change? What makes it change liter to a 5.3 over 6.2? Well, the 4.8 and the 5.3 are the same block. So if it says that on the block, it could be either one of those. The difference between a 4.8 and a 5.3 is the stroke length. The bore size is the same. A 4.8 has a shorter stroke. A 5.3 has the same stroke as a 6.0 and a 6.2. They just have a different bore size. When you go up to a 6.0, the difference between a 5.3 and a 6.0 is bore size, and the difference between a 6.0 and a 6.2 is also bore size. Is there an accurate way to determine dynamic compression? Yes. There's a Wallace Racing, I think, has a dynamic compression calculator. I was wondering how much effect a worn cam chain can have on retarding cam timing. It definitely can, and every LS cam gear set that I've ever seen, new or used, is always sloppy. Yeah, Daryl, you don't want to find one if you're in tall grass in your barefoot. That's not a good time. They're just, a lot of people are afraid of them. They're just defensive because you're big and they're small, and everything out there wants to eat them, and they're like, hey, look, ease up. Don't try to eat me. I will defend myself. I'm scared right now, and I don't, because something big is trying to attack me. And so that's why they strike. I've had people tell me, oh no, they'll chase you down the road. I'm like, no, they won't. They don't care about you. You're way too big. They're not going to eat you. They're not even, a lot of times if they strike, they're not even going to use their venom. They're not going to envenomate you because they like to save that for things that they can actually eat. So if they bite a mouse and they know that they bite it and let it go away and die, then they go find it. That way they don't get hurt when they fight. Because they could be injured. A big mouse or a rat or eat squirrels, all those things could definitely hurt a snake. And so they don't want to have any part of it. They just bite and let go and go, okay, now go do your thing. Go die somewhere, and I'll come find you. King snakes, on the other hand, they grab stuff and it's go time. That's why I like that. That's why I like king snakes. King snakes, I think, are my favorite. Rattlesnakes all over Utah, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas. Blind. Yeah, T70 makes more sense. Yeah, 70 is a little on the small side. Mark, what's up? Bonneville's in 183 days. Mark, do you guys have a Metro or something that I could put that turbo sprint motor in? Is the 4.8 LR4 and LS or Vortec? Everyone says is, but it's part of the LS family. It's called an LR4, which is their designation, just like an LM7 is a 5.3, but they're all part of the LS family. Chris, I'm more scared of ticks than snakes. Me too. I get ticks on me all the time when I go out catching snakes, especially if I go traipsing around in the grass. Luckily, I don't have any hair for them to get into. Richard, how big a bore can you go on a Gen 3 cast block? All I can find are pistons for the 6.4, nothing for the 5.7. Do they use the same blocks? I don't think you can bore that 5.7 Hemi block out that far. Cottonmouths are aggressive. I've never seen a snake that's aggressive. I've seen snakes that are defensive. Potentially territorial, maybe. Southern Alberta has small but still deadly ones. Plenty here in Valley in British Columbia. Okanagan? Is that Okanagan? I don't know how to pronounce that. Yeah, ticks are not our friend. The dogs used to get them. People kill king snakes all the time because they don't know they're good to have around harmless humans. Yeah, people just have an irrational fear of snakes, just like they do, I'm sure, of alligators or Burmese pythons. Sharks are the same thing, since Jaws came out, which is one of my favorite movies ever. And Peter Benchley obviously did an awesome job, but he kicks himself now for causing what was basically a worldwide phenomenon, making everybody hate sharks, like the sharks are coming out to get you, and they're really not. 70 millimeter turbo is probably 500 or 600 horsepower or something like that. No, a 70. If a GT45 is a 69, if it's the right kind of 70, I don't know what the X-Deucer is or anything. But if it's sized like a GT45, that one's like a 700 or 750 horsepower turbo. Production, we have the turbo record in it. Did you dyno yours? What were the specs? No, that's what I wanted to talk to you about that, to see if there was something that I could do to make the most I've ever made. When we had the stock turbo on it, we made as much as 120 of the tire by maxing the turbo out. We got the motor up to 160 or 65 or 70 with a little GT20 turbo that I had. But I just didn't have the ability to really tune it properly because I still have the vane meter and everything on it. But I'm sure that there's more there. I haven't really done anything. It had stock cams and everything on it. So I've got a bunch of stuff for it. And so I just wanted to ask you about it. A blue runner will chase you. What's a blue runner? Like a blue racer? Is that what you're talking about? I've never even heard of a blue runner. Thought it was up on most kinds of snakes. Bull snakes are like our gopher snakes that we have here. But again, not aggressive. They're not gonna come into your house and try to attack you. What they are is if you corner them, then they're defensive. Same thing as a rattlesnake. Rattlesnakes are aggressive. Yeah, they're all curled up and hissing, and they got their little S shape, and they strike at you. They do. They're telling you to get away. Just if you just walk around them and go on about your business, they're not going to go, hey, you come over here and say that. They don't really do that. They'll chase you for a couple 100 yards. No. Black mamba might, and they're fast. Let's see, are cam gears worth power for stuff like small block Chevys or LSs? I've never run an adjustable. Oh no, I take that back. I have run an adjustable cam gear on a small block Chevy because we had one of the ones that West Tech had a belt drive on it that had a adjustable gear, and I tried to do advancing and retarding tests, and we were doing it with a cam that didn't really respond very well. Richard, why not put the 1.4 in an X19? They'll be fun. Or Triumph TR7, or a Fiero, because of the transverse mounted deal. I mean, don't they make bigger versions of that? Isn't that 1.4 in Ecotech? Don't they make 2-liter versions of that? Dolphins can be really, really mean, and because they're so intelligent, like purposely, it's bad. Okanagan, okay, cool. Lake Chelan in Washington State was one of the deepest lakes in North America. Is it deeper than Lake Tahoe is? Have you read Jaws? Yeah, I read the book before I saw the movie. First time I heard rattlesnake was when I was walking in tall grass and just about stepped on it. Yeah, it's not good to find them there. And no matter, and I've been doing this I caught my first snake when I was probably 5. And so I've been doing it a long time. And like I said, I go out every year purposely and catch them. But every time you hear one rattle, it's like get your heart racing. Get pumped. Yeah, Mark, just let me know. The motor that I really want to put together is a Honda one for something. But the Sprint motor's already together. So if it's something you guys can use, just let me know. Whatever you want to do, man. A racer, yeah. We have lots of racer snakes here too. Different varieties. Some of them look like garter snakes. We had the racers down in Southern California are big and very fast. They're hard to get a hold of. Richard, get a hold of Mike Cove in Canada for Go Fast cams and such for the Sprint engine. I think that I dealt with him back when I was doing the Sprint and the Metro when I was part of that. Was it a forum back then, maybe? I've caught bull snakes before quite a bit, and they're like I said, they're like gopher snakes. Gopher snakes and bull snakes are both mimics, and what they do is because they're the way that they're spotted and the coloration is almost spot on for rattlesnake. And so what they do is they hiss, they triangulate their head, they even rattle their tail in leaves to try to mimic a rattlesnake. The problem with that is that they're doing it in an effort to scare off other would-be predators and stuff. But most of the predators will also eat rattlesnakes, and it might scare people, which is good, but it also gets them killed. Yeah, black mambas are really fast, and they are supposed to be aggressive. And I know nothing about them. I've never been to Africa, so I don't know what they do. But I know that they're very deadly, and I know that they're fast, and that they do chase people. Is 1,000 horsepower possible on a stock rod 4,200? I don't know. Calvin would be a better person to ask on that. I'm fairly certain that the one that he blew up was probably near that. Crater Lake is 1,900. I thought that Tahoe was that deep too. Let's see. Let's go look. Because they didn't know for a long time how deep it was. Lake Tahoe depth. Oh, it's only, it's a sissy. It's 1644. Crater Lake is 1946. Lake Baikal is 5,000 feet deep. That's really deep. Lake Tahoe is the second deepest lake in the U.S. with a maximum depth of 1,600 feet, trailing Oregon's Crater Lake at 1949. I was thinking it was in the top 10. Yeah, garage. You don't want to, if you can't see them very well, it's bad to try to catch them. Yeah, I think black mambas are Mike. I think that they're pretty gangster. I think that they have attitude. We have black snakes in North Carolina. Those are indigo snakes. They have them in their relatives of the king snake. They're in that family. They have them in Texas and stuff too. And yeah, they will. And lots of snakes will. Racer snakes will hunt. And they probably have a partial immunity like the king snakes do to rattlesnake venom that they developed over time. And they're probably constrictors. The king snakes are really good at it. They want to dump seawater into the Great Salt Lake. Copperheads. Copperheads are beautiful too. I've never caught a copperhead though. The other day I read a Motor Trend article from Jeff Smith. You know it's going to be good. One of the heads was a 290 Edelbrock. They claimed 582 horsepower, 5,600 with a 224 cam. Seems like a lot. But it's on a 496, so maybe that's true. Jeff's pretty good. Bull snakes here will constrict small cats. Bull snakes are the biggest ones I've seen are 6 or 7 feet. That's not a. You have king snakes that look like coral snakes. There are lots of them. Yeah, there are milk snakes. There are mountain king snakes that all have comparable coloring. Coral snakes are very, very rare, and it would be really hard to find them. And they're rear fang venomous snakes too, so they don't bite like rattlesnakes do. But their venom is pretty effective. You have your 10-year-old daughter come get the spiders now. Even for spiders, I'm a catch and release. Although I'm not a spider guy, I was telling my sons a story about a friend of mine having tarantulas, and that we used to have people hold it because it would just walk on you, and as long as you weren't afraid of it and make big movements or whatever. But if you'd blow on it, it would bite you. How do you fix the invasive snake population in Florida? I don't know. I mean, they're doing all that they can. You'd have to have probably federal money to be able to do it. I mean, it'd have to be like everybody just line up and sweep all the way through Florida. It's such a good place for them to be. There's so many places to hide and stuff. It's just they're good at survival. Shelby from Swamp Longer is biting heads off rattlesnakes and getting bit inside the mouth. That's not good. I used to watch in fact, I was trying to be on the show. What was it called? Rattlesnake Wranglers or something like that. Do you guys remember that show? With Bibby. And he got bit a bunch, and he eventually lost his leg because he got bit so many times. But he's the guy that used to put him in his mouth and stuff. And it's a funny thing. I got to get going, but I'll tell the story really quick. So I sent in, I don't know, had to be 50. I kept sending in letters and all kinds of things. I went through and did my detective work and found out all of the producers and directors and all that stuff for the show. And so I just started sending them like stuff. I finally one day got a call from somebody that said, "Hey, are you Richard Holder?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, we want to talk to you about being on the show." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. So you guys finally like responded to one of my letters?" They're like, "Yeah, you sent a lot of them, right?" I said, "Yeah." And so the deal that I did is I pitched a deal to be basically the villain. Actually, I would be a good guy technically, but I would be the villain to the people that were hunting these snakes, because the people that are hunting these rattlesnakes, I don't even like them doing that because there's no reason to kill snakes. But they kill them for these roundups and stuff. But I was going to be the king of Cali, so I was going to be the guy that, like, my favorite thing were king snakes, even though they would eat rattlesnakes. But I would be the guy that would go there and try to save the snakes and try to put the kibosh on all those guys, like going out and finding them. So I would go out and find them ahead of time and like move them and stuff. And so they're like, "This is perfect. This will be ideal. This will drive these guys crazy." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's why I wanted to do it." But just nothing ever happened on it. But I thought it would have been fun because I was going to have a truck all decked out to look like a king snake and have a big thing that said King of Cali, because they're in Texas. So it's right off the bat, it's going to piss everybody off. So it would have been like all kinds of awesome. This will be the last one. Richard, on your previous live stream, you said you tested oilless turbos. But I haven't done any videos on them. We tested oilless turbos, probably might have been pre-YouTube. This is one of the first ones that they had done. We only tried one they brought one over when I was there, brought one to West Tech on the chassis dyno, and they tried one and it didn't work. It ate itself. But I understand that they have them that are working now, but I've never tested one on the engine dyno. Well, and on that note, it's time to go. I got to go finish. Thank you guys all for showing up. I will be here after I close out my poll at 72%, that's saying that cam sprockets do indeed work. I know that there's no it depends thing there, but there needs to be. Thank you guys all for showing up. I'll see y'all tomorrow in the morning.